that case, you still seem to go through heads.
According to the kills, it has a pressure pad on the playhead.
What, the Reeboks?
Yeah, you know that flap that comes up over the playhead?
Oh, that's not really a pressure pad.
Well, according to the kilt, there is actually a pressure thing, and it does actually push the tape onto the
It tends to push
head.
it pushes the tape against each side of the head so that it sort of folds around the face of the head.
Yeah, well, that's how a buy pressure plate works.
Yeah, but it's not actually a pad.
No, it's a pressure plate, though.
Yeah, the buy, as you say, the buy's got the same thing, but that's not a pad.
No.
You've got to have something to hold it across the face of the head. I used to have a little piece of, when I had the third head on the Calaro, I just had a piece of bent wire that used to come across and push it against one side of the head. But as far as I was concerned, it was a non-pressure pad system.
Yeah.
Because the pressure pad usually has a fair amount of pressure right on the gap.
Which is where you don't want it, because you wreck the gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got this other tape recorder, which is also quite old, and it's not made anymore. It's a Kerting. You've probably never heard of it.
No.
Oh, it's a German thing. That thing has got printed circuit boards in it, and it's got both valves and transistors. And it's a 4-track stereo thing with only 3 3/4.
Oh, it's a pity.
Yeah, that's right.
2 speeds, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was sort of wondering, did the Akai, I wonder if they still have 1 7/8, because that's really handy. 1 7/8 for recording crossbands.
The thing is,
and
1
things.
7/8 probably might even go out of fashion now. There's cassettes around.
Yeah, but they used to, even in 1964, they were getting 12 kcs at 1 7/8 out of the reel-to-reels. So there's nothing really miraculous about what they're doing with cassettes at all.
That's right.
10 years, or 14 years ago they were doing it with reel-to-reel, just using standard tape.
Yeah.
That's with crossfield heads,
That's right.
which used to wear out, but they were still doing it. And if they had 1 7/8 now and I could get, say, 8 or 10 kc, there's an awful lot of
815
stuff I'd use it for. Oh, who's he getting things from?
We're getting tings.
No
We
one-
don't know who from.
no one on
they
the
don't
other
want
end.
to talk.
But you can't terminate it from that end, can
Yeah,
you?
we got the phone to work again.
Oh,
But you can't really get much treble on 1 7/8 without losing signal-to-noise ratio, surely.
no, the signal to noise was fair. Like, I was absolutely amazed when I heard it, when I heard this machine.
Yeah.
Would you believe they've got the line
Yeah,
and they've rung up
yeah.
and they've taken their phone off the hook?
Oh, when would they do that for?
No.
Oh, it'll disconnect eventually. Just go next.
Hello? Yeah, just hang on.
Do you want me to ring up the exchange and ask them to trace it?
That sounded awfully like one of the marks.
Did it?
Yes.
One of the marks.
Hmm.
Saying what?
You have tings. You have tings. You have tings.
What, over and over again?
Yes.
What for?
I don't know, in a very low voice. Well, very low in level.
How
Wouldn't
odd.
it worry you?
I wouldn't worry about it. I'd just put the thing back on the floor and go to bed or something.
Yes.
Oh, I suppose we should hit the sack. I don't want to get my ears too much out of sync either.
Yeah.
If you're going to get up at 9 o'clock,
That's right.
you better hit the sack. You get about 8.
I wonder if we're being listened to in East Hawthorne.
I wonder. Quite possibly.
We're probably getting
Quite
a tape
likely.
we're probably getting a tape made up with slander or listen to that Silvers or something like that set on top of us every interval.
Sit on top of us.
Slander.
Oh, I see what you mean. One of those types.
Yes.
Yeah.
Particularly now that we're trying to find out if there's anybody else who plays with light beam around the place who's listening. That's what we'll reframe it. Anybody else who plays with light beam equipment,
Yeah, you've got to be playing with it currently.
because or have it at hand.
In other words, what John wants is somebody who, within 2 or 3 weeks can be, you know,
At least receiving
within about a 2 or 3 mile radius of the area of Burwood Road and near the river there.
Yeah.
That area.
Well, you see, we got someone who was interested in the system on a hill that's line of sight from here who hasn't got any equipment.
Well, you'd have to build it up pretty fast.
This is the thing, because we haven't really got enough equipment to hand it out, but if they
were really interested...
If they were really interested to the extent that they want to build equipment...
Well, they'd rush out and buy stuff within the next few weeks. Get the necessary bits.
It's not a next few weeks business. If they're interested to build it and...
But you want someone that can sort of get the thing going again almost straight away, don't you? Not a 6-month project, 6 months wait or something. Well, you can sort of get yourself organised into something else in the meantime. Oh, of course, you're getting 432 going.
Yeah, I'm going to get fast scan going.
Plus the
432.
TV system.
Because the frustrating thing is I've got all the bits of it working, but I haven't got them hooked together yet because actually I was in the 7 today. I was in the 7 today trying to some connectors, but there were no technicians there that knew anything about it, so I'll have to come back on Monday.
That's right. You remember you saying it. So back on Monday, and then we might have some fast scan going. What happens? You get the connectors, and you can more or less plug the thing in and get it running.
More or less.
See, that'll be interesting, because you'd actually get some pictures on the monitors and things.
And you'd actually get pictures that had enough definition for you to see what they were.
Yeah, off an image orthicon. John's got one of these Channel 7 cameras, Bruno.
Oh,
one of the
studio camera.
The real thing with image orthicon, turret, 4 lenses.
Gee.
The whole thing. Needs about 2 people to lift the camera.
Well, it needs a camera dolly to put it on.
Yes.
Oh, well.
So it should be rather interesting when he gets that going, even on closed circuit, just looking in the monitor at the back of the camera. Or
we can have the camera in the backyard because the cable's long enough to have the monitor and everything up in the shack and the camera out in the backyard.
Yeah. If you're going to sort of put yourself on the air, you'd virtually have to put the camera next door in their room that faces you. And
take it back at the... No, it's got a short focal length lens, you know.
Really short, is it? Yeah,
it's got 4 lenses. It's got one that's a 2-inch focal length, which should be suitable for having in the room with you. Then it's got a couple of lenses suitable for, say, taking pictures right across the football oval and this sort of thing.
Oh, and what's the other one?
Well, it's got 4 lenses. It's got a complete selection from close-ups where you sit virtually directly in front of the
of course, they'd be the same ones they use for the football anyway, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Where they you can sort of get sufficiently close up that you virtually got the head of the guy across the other side of the oval, filling up the whole screen. Yeah,
or else you can have the person sitting about 6 feet from the camera.
Yeah, oh, that'd be really incredible.
Because it's got a whole set of lenses.
It's going to be good to see that going. Just to get an idea of the lenses.
Yeah, that's right. And
because each lens is worth about 10 times what you paid for or more.
I know, because each lens costs about, well, the 2-inch one was about 2 dB or something, when it's worth about, 20 dB at the least.
Oh, come on, those lenses would be worth well over the 100 each.
That's why I said 20 dB at the very least.
Yeah. Because the long range one.
Oh yeah, I know. The complete lenses. Yeah, the whole thing must have been worth about 20 grand or something when it was new, or its equivalent.
Have you actually looked inside it yet?
Which, the camera?
Yeah. Have you actually, looked at the circuits and so on?
Oh yeah, I've looked at. I haven't actually got the circuit of all the camera, but I've got the circuit of everything else.
Yeah. Oh,
and the camera's reasonably straightforward.
Can you get a circuit from 7?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be getting one of it.
There should be one on file.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to go pay a few more visits to 7, and actually I know about 3 people in there. So
it should be pretty right, because all you want's a photostat. What sort of camera is it? Is it
Prime? It's a Marconi Mark III.
Oh.
with a 4.5-inch orthicon in it.
What's that, the diameter of the tube or something, or what?
Yeah, it's the diameter of the tube. The 4.5-inch uses a peculiar image multiplier type arrangement where the actual image is still only about 1.5 inches in diameter, but it fans out onto a big target inside the tube for scanning.
What's the shape of the tube? Is it like a Vidicon, just a long thing, or has it got a bend in it and everything?
It's a cross between a Vidicon and a crow tube. Like it's, you know that funny crow tube head that looked like a funny bottle?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like that.
Oh. You never did find out what that thing was. It looks really fascinating.
I think it's some sort of flying spot scanning tube myself.
It's really odd.
You got it from the Wayne. No, I went there and they wanted 40 dB for it came along.
Yeah.
And they gave it to him for almost nothing.
And then along came and got it for nothing. That's odd. I thought you had a habit of getting things really cheap.
I usually do, but you can't win out on everything.
By the way, I'm occupying myself very well doing some cleaning up, packing in my room while I'm listening, so don't worry if I don't say something for a while.
Yeah, okay.
Because I think when you can go and buy an X-Studio recorder or something for around about the 20 dB mark, you haven't really done too badly.
No, I wouldn't have minded. You know,
by the way, the CR plan to get rid of their present equipments.
Yeah, if they can get something better.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, a lot of their equipment's just on loan while they fossick around for something permanent.
But
like that Peak Limiter, for example.
They own all the quarters.
Do they? They're going to get some decent microphones and
I don't know. They think that they've got really the best microphone they can get.
Where they got that idea from?
They think that those microphones there are far superior to anything else around.
Oh, they must have been reading the specifications. That's the impression you get from the specs. Yeah. So they quote these incredible frequency responses of 20 cycles to 19.6 kc or something on those. Which they do give you if you're speaking 4 inches from them.
That's the only time.
Yeah. Any other distance you get a completely lopsided response. I
think that probably the electrets, you know, like what I'm using now, I think really when you sum the price they cost,
I still can't work out
what you're getting.
From a physics point of view, I can't work out why dynamics perform one way. You know, they seem to be very sensitive to where they are in the sound field, and the electrets and the old tried and true condenser mics seem to perform an entirely different way. Like one's a velocity and one's a pressure, I know, but I still can't sort of picture it in physics terms as to why one doesn't seem to be sensitive and the other does.
Is the electret really a velocity?
I don't know what the electret or a normal condenser is, but they seem to be like you can record musical instruments and things with low frequencies in them at virtually any distance away, and you still get a balanced response, whereas with a dynamic, if you're trying to record a drum, you've virtually got to have the damn thing sitting on the bass drum to get any bass, which I've found out from experiment.
Well, you know when you see pop singers screaming into their microphones, they're probably using dynamic.
Oh yeah, they're not too bad close up, although you do need bass cut if you're too close.
Well, that's very strange because, velocity ribbon.
Oh, ribbons are good. Ribbons are tremendous for bass.
Yeah, well, they give, far in excess of what they should give for bass when you're close up, shorter than a wavelength or so.
Yeah. Like ribbons are good. I don't know whether it's a fair experiment or not, but ribbons you can record thunder with and get full level, and it sounds like it's fairly balanced, although of course the system doesn't go down to...
What happens if you record thunder with an electret?
I don't know, but with a dynamic it is laughable. It sounds like somebody rattling a paper bag. It's really hilarious.
We must try recording thunder next thunderstorm with the electret to see what it does.
I never seem to be set up for recording thunder when there's a storm.
That's what happens.
By the time you get set up, it's still flashing lightning, but there's no thunder.
put compression on the Thunder.
Yeah, hardly needs it. Well, I suppose it needs peak limiting.
Yeah.
Because there's too much dynamic.
Does 3CR use a peak limiter?
Yeah, they've got one on loan from somewhere, an old...
They didn't have it when we were on, did they?
An old valve one. Yeah.
Not one of those things like the BBC peak limiter with the 2 push-pull pentads and
I think it is.
transformers.
Yeah, standard AWA broadcasting.
Yeah.
I used to record my music tapes on those when I was at AW. I used to record them through their standby.
Well, you got the sack.
You know, the effect of them is not terribly obvious. I was rather disappointed because I turned up the compression to try and make it sound like X, Y and UZ.
It wouldn't work.
And they're really gentle in their effect even when they're only 25 dB of limiting.
Yeah.
It's really disappointing. The gain comes back so slowly.
Yeah, they're well designed though.
I suppose it would stop you getting distortion on loud things when you kept everything at a high level. That's about all, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And they've got a fairly slow attack time. Those things are about half a millisecond or something. Or a millisecond. And yet you still can't hear the distortion. I think the test the BBC did said you could have 4 milliseconds and not hear it. You not hear the overmod.
Yeah. Yeah, well, with this compressor I'm using now, I think it's a bit too slow because if you talk really loud, suddenly it does distort so you can hear it for a while before it attacks.
Yeah, well, if you're listening, Mercer, you've got that circuit of the...
which I want to build.
Of the Mark II limiter of this thing. So I must get a photostat of it. You've got the rough circuit that I dropped from memory. I must get a photostat of that.
You know that limiter you've built into that chassis?
Yeah.
What circuit's that built to?
That's the Mark I. That's the AWA outside broadcast amplifier that the radio stations use for the football and so on.
Why did you build yours in such a big chassis if it's just a few ICs?
No, that's all discrete. It's like the circuit board for the limiter itself is about 8 by 5. And then
You haven't still got any copies of that circuit board around, have you, like for the Mark I?
No, I had the last one lying around for about 2 years and I was offering it to everybody and BDX finally took it.
Yeah, that's right. I heard
but there are... Dan's got one. If you want to borrow his, he'd probably give it to you on an indefinite loan because he built it 5 years ago and he's never used it.
Why is that?
Because he's just never on the air and he's never bothered connecting it into the system. He's just never used it. So it's just sitting there gathering dust.
He just made it work and that's...
Yeah, that's right. So you ought to go and borrow that.
Yeah, I should even ask him if he wants to make it quick DB.
Well, even if he didn't, he could borrow it and he could probably have it for a couple of years and then all of a sudden after 2 or 3 years he might knock on your door and say, can you have it back? But in the meantime he probably would have found something anyway.
Did he actually build it up in a chassis like yours?
No, he's just got it sitting there on the board.
Yeah.
So you'd have to get an Eddystone box for it or something to keep the RF out because they're a bit RF prone.
Oh, well, if I was just borrowing it, I could stick it into one of those cigar tins, you know, the tin ones.
See, mine's fairly large.
Just stick it in there.
I've got a power supply in it as well, which is power tranny and rectifiers and everything. Plus all the attenuators and junk along the front.
And you bring it out to plus 8 dBm.
Yeah, well, I've got 2 fairly large 600 ohm line transformers also at one end.
Yeah.
So when you look inside it, there's not really a square inch of room, believe it or not.
But the Mark II, I suppose, is more compact.
Oh, you can make it as compact as you want it. See, if you don't want to use 600 ohm transformers and so on for going in and out, you can make it really as small as you like.
Yes. Just getting the microphone rigged up, yes.
Yeah, it's entirely up to you.
I think probably if I built a...
Hello, your audio suddenly gone, John. Hello?
It's come back.
Where'd it go?
Hello.
Suddenly just disappeared.
Hello.
It's back now.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
You just faded down very quickly.
That's very interesting. Perhaps the compressor didn't recover when I said something.
It sounds like it.
Yes, anyway, I think if I was building a compressor to use in the shack, well, a peak limiter, I'd build it sort of on a strip of aluminium.
Is it the Dandenong studio having its clean-up I can hear? Yeah, it must be. Here, go on.
Yeah, what it was me switching off a fluorescent light.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, anyway, I'd build my thing, I think, probably in, sort of in a strip, sort of a mounting,
Yeah.
You know, perhaps even so you could mount it in a rack, you know, have a front panel adapter, and I put all the inputs and outputs I wanted on it, so I just have it sitting there in the rack with everything else. And
which one's this you're talking about?
if I built any form of peak limiter,
Yeah.
you know, I'd have a selection of inputs and outputs on it,
Yeah.
so you could put just about anything in from balanced lines to unbalanced. I'd have it so you could have transformers in or transformers out, depending on whether you needed them. And
Yeah, well, I got the same thing. Although all I've ended up using on mine is the 600 ohm line input, because I know that if I feed plus 8 in, I get I'm right on the verge of limiting with the attenuator set to 0 type of thing.
Yeah.
Everything's standardised and I can forget about it. Like I did have a mic input on it, which is still there, but it's not connected type of thing. We just never used it.
yes,
So it's so much easier having everything controlled from the mixer and just forgetting about the limiter altogether.
that's right. Well, I've got to build another mixer. I used to have one a few years ago before I was on the air regularly, and I took it apart for bits. It was a valve one, of course. I think I just built one out of 2 N3819s if I make another one.
Yeah. Yeah, this is all full of valves.
Yeah.
12A U's and 12A X's and T's and things. Which is very handy because you get a lot of functions with 5 valves.
Yeah, you can.
10 little amps in there. Well, it's not as good as I'd like, and I wish it had been built on a bigger chassis, because you really need a power monitor amp on it, I think, for convenience, and also a much higher...
so you can drive speakers direct off the mixer.
And also a small power amp coming out of the Q channel, so you can just plug headphones in direct, so that when you flick the key up into the up position for queuing, you know, you get immediate... See, I can't do that with this. I've got to feed the Q channel output through an auxiliary amplifier to boost it up.
Does each mixer valve go in through a valve and then into a Q switch?
Yeah, there's 4 triodes on one for each channel, that sort of, you know, basically.
And where's the switches, in the grids or the anodes?
Well, the switches are after
After
each valve.
Yeah.
The gain controls are before each valve, which tends to wreck the signal to noise a bit. It's only got a signal to noise of about 48 dB or something.
Well, I was thinking to build one virtually the same as that.
But it's a passive mixer. It mixes through resistors. And
after these isolating stages.
Yeah, that's right. And although it tends to give very good results...
You could use cathode followers and do all the output at very, very low impedance.
Yeah, well, it's got that in it.
If you're working on 600 ohms, so you use 600, say 1k pots for your gains.
Well, that's the other way of doing it.
And then you use, say, 4 or 5k resistors, or even 10k for your mixing.
You got no problems.
And then you took it into just the input of one amplifier.
You don't want to go that far. I mean, you don't want to go to 5k. Like, if you use 600 ohm... No, hang on, what would you use? You'd have to work it out. You can work out the interaction, but if you go too far, you'll wreck your signal noise again. But there's one good thing about that is that if you're using 1k pots, they take a long time to wear out, because they've got a very heavy carbon deposit on them.
That's right.
To get the resistance down.
See, I once thought to make a sort of a studio panel, a bit like some of the aunties ones that do all the mixing and everything with pots, and then they go into amplifiers afterwards, like the one on the broadcast op exam.
Yeah, well, they all mix at 600.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But they're not using pots, they're using proper attenuators like you've got on the bio.
That's right, but
the resistors behind them.
I wonder where you get those attenuators.
I don't know, they're incredible. I wish I could get those. I'd rebuild the mixer if I could get 4 of those.
They're about the best attenuators I've ever seen.
Yeah, you just give them a flick virtually and they spin round and they're noiseless and, beautiful.
Yeah, they're about the best attenuators.
And they last forever.
The other thing you could use is those light... You can get little units with a light-dependent resistor and a variable brilliance lamp in them.
That might be a bad scheme, actually.
The aunties use them throughout now, almost.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad scheme.
So you use your light-dependent resistor as one arm of a potentiometer system.
I take it the frequency response is still dead flat, I hope. I hope that isn't why they sound a bit trebleless lately. Because the Stu reckoned he did a frequency response check and they were 10 kc most of the channels off gramophone was 6 dB down. But this is after they put in their new Stanton cartridges instead of the Autophons.
What was he using, a test record?
He took his own test record in the one that we, that W&G thing that we all seem to have.
Where do you get that from?
Record shop.
What's the sort of how much do they cost?
Oh, I don't know, about $5 or whatever.
Because I was thinking to buy a test record, because you really need one if you're going to do any work with turntables.
Yeah, well, they're very good, because you can...
Oh, that's not that thing that's, labelled professional test record.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, I've got that. It's absolutely hopeless.
For what?
Super noisy surface.
Gee, mine was as clean as a whistle. Where'd you get yours from?
Raypar.
Raypar?
Radio
Oh, yeah.
parts.
Yeah. Now, somebody else got a noisy copy. There must have been a batch of noisy pressings of that. But I think Mike got a noisy copy and he took it back or something.
Oh.
Oh, obviously it shouldn't be noisy.
Well, that's right,
I mean, they must have... Well, Australian record manufacturers have got this nasty habit of using their masters for about 5 times as long as any other country.
Probably because they haven't got so much market.
And pressing out such that the end of the batch, the last few thousand, are completely wrecked.
Yeah.
And there was a photograph I saw too. The head had it, GX, out of some Australian hi-fi magazine of a certain record company whose first letter is F and last letter is L. And it's a thing you go to have fun. Who were pressing out records, and they had all these bags of vinyl dust or whatever it is stacked right next to the stamper. And, it sort of looked like they were pressing out their records in this atmosphere of dust and rubbish and all this sort of thing. So
yeah, well, mine certainly sounds completely crook.
Yeah.
Just about useless.
Well, mine was quite noiseless when I got it. It's wrecked now because I use it as a doormat, but it's it was
Why do
certainly...
you use it as a doormat?
Oh, just because it's it still works. It still does the job. It's just that it's very noisy. I mean, the noise doesn't matter. I'm only interested in what the sine wave content is. That's all I'm looking at on the meter, sort of thing. Especially if you're looking at an average reading meter, the noise peaks don't really move it much anyway.
Yeah, because I was thinking, well, when I do a bit more work with the turntable again, I'll buy myself a test record and set it all up so it's flat.
Yeah, you tend to get a shock quite often when you put the test record onto a system. You find it's nothing like what you thought it was. Yeah, one channel's completely different to the other. And
I must admit that I think the noise has increased somewhat on this record of mine since I lent it to a few people.
Yes.
Must have played it with a nail or something.
Yeah. That's very handy to have, the phasing and so on. There was a record around, I don't know whether you can get it, but I saw it reviewed in Tiny Tots quite a long time ago that had 2 gliding tones that were spaced 1 kc apart. That went from 20 cycles to 20 kcs, and it was checking intermod distortion. And of course at 20 kcs you don't hear either of them, but if there's intermod distortion you get the 1 kc beat note coming through.
Yeah.
And this is a really good test for intermod distortion in your cartridge and your system and everything.
Yeah.
And you probably find with most cartridges you'd get it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Although I don't know what velocity it would have been recorded. Oh, of course the velocity would be quite high up there if they were recording it flat. Quite high velocities up towards 20k.
Yeah, I've got a Stanton 681 there.
Yeah, I wonder what velocity you would get up to up there.
I could work it out.
How do you work it out anyway?
Well, it depends what their reference is at 1k.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
Let's work out their reference then. How do they record? I think they record virtually with...
Inverse of the...
They try virtually to record with constant amplitude, don't they? Which means that they're really...
It's almost that.
Almost.
It's this inverse of the RIAA curve, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which, not quite a straight line. It's at 6 dB per octave. It's got, a bit of a kink in the middle.
But if you did record with constant amplitude and you're 3 centimetres velocity at 1k, which is the reference level, which they wouldn't record at probably. They'd probably record at about 6 dB under it.
Which would give you a lower velocity.
Which would be more like about 1.5 centimetres. But then you go up 2 kcs, you go 2, 4, 8, 16's a factor of 4. So to go 1.5, you go 3, 7.
Oh, I've got a calculator
15,
here, I can work it out.
13. Yeah, it'd be up around the 20 centimetre mark of velocity.
And what did you say a lot of cars used to start at, about 15?
15 to 20. Variable reluctances, except the Stanton.
And crystals, of course,
tend
distorted
to pack up at about
5.
Well, most variable reluctances pack up around 16 or 17.
And of course, you're quoting this with reference to the test level 6 dB down, aren't you? So when
no, that's just an absolute velocity. Like if it says it packs up at 16 centimetres, well, that's what it packs up at.
you know when they're recording subcarriers up at 40k,
Yeah.
you get a fair velocity up there.
Yeah, they'd be well down, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they'd probably run that fair few dB down, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they'd have
Yeah,
to.
I think so.
Because otherwise you wouldn't be able to cut it.
That's right. Well, yeah, they'd probably end up forced to run a few dB down by the way the cutter would work.
Yeah, well, you can't. Like with a finite sized stylus. No, hang on. That wouldn't affect the amplitude you get cut.
It would affect the size of the...
Would it? Or would it? Sure.
Doesn't those quad records, they wear out just about straight away, don't they?
Are all records recorded with this quad stuff now?
No.
Oh, well, only if they got it written on the cover or something.
I think so, because when I went into the record shop, one of the record shops in Elizabeth Street or wherever it is, I had looked there and you could buy quad records which were specifically labelled as quad records.
That's a laugh, quad. I reckon it's an absolute laugh, trying to foist that onto the public.
It is.
I mean, stereo was acceptable because it was an advance, even though it was only being thrown on to get sales up, but it was an advance.
Yeah, it was.
But the fact that you can get the third channel by putting one speaker differentially between the two amp outputs, and it does sound
like another channel.
Like another channel. Well, it virtually is, because you're hearing something that you wouldn't hear
Some
otherwise.
people really scream at me when I suggest doing that.
The fact that you get that effect, and it's really good, so you've got 3 channels virtually, and you've got to go to all this extra trouble to make it 4. It's an absolute laugh, because I just don't bother listening in stereo, because I just like having the music, going.
In which case you don't really need stereo. You only really need stereo if you're going to sit down and listen.
That's right.
Optimum position.
I never listen in the one position. I might be in the shack or sitting in the chair or kneeling on the floor or...
Yeah, well, I walk around here, so
out in the bathroom.
Stereo...
listening on the transistor.
Whereas it's desirable if you're going to run tape recorders to play with things that will record multi-channels. I doubt whether I'd ever listen to more than stereo.
Yeah, well, stereo.
Even if the recorder could record 100 channels.
It's like the standard law of diminishing returns.
I can't quite understand how you really can receive 4 channels with only 2 ears. I know you can, but I can't quite see how.
Probably doesn't it assume...
No, you can tell when somebody's talking from behind you.
Yeah, you can.
With your eyes shut, surely.
Yeah, you can, because you tend to move...
Oh, you don't understand the mechanism of the phasing getting to the ears and everything, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, probably...
I suppose that's what it is, just a matter of phase relationships and...
Because you can hear whether something's behind you, in front of you, or beside you.
Yeah.
So it just plays away with that feature.
Like you're all in the middle of my head at the moment. What are you listening on, John? Just the speaker?
How would you...
I suppose I'm keeping your whole house awake.
No, I don't think so.
How would you make quadraphonic headphones?
Somebody's actually marketed them.
I don't know about quadraphonic headphones, but you can modify ordinary headphones to move the stereo image out in front. I suppose you've seen that article.
How do they do that?
So it's not spread through the middle of your head, it's spread out in front of you. Phasing networks. Feed the audio through phasing networks. There's an article, quite a good article in Wireless World on that. Well, a lot of people object to having the sound stage going straight through their heads, in one ear and out the other, on a line. And they prefer the effect that you get with loudspeakers of having a sound stage spread out in front of you in a semicircle type of thing. Or, almost a semicircle. And you can get the effect on ordinary headphones by putting it through a certain type of phasing, double phasing circuit. It gives the effect that the sound spread out in front of you instead of through your head.
When you listen to
I was always interested to try that.
When you listen to mono on headphones, it sounds like the sound's in the middle of your head.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing you like now. Well, I suppose I could hook you up in stereo if I wanted to. Without too much trouble.
We must work out. Well, I think I'll try this stereo experiment. We can work out a stereo decoder to go on the receivers.
The other circuit I was interested to try was that one for demodulating AM, where you get stereo. Because one sideband comes out one channel and the other sideband comes out the other channel.
Yeah, that's very interesting, that one.
The only trouble is getting the transmitter to work. Like the receiver's pretty straightforward, using ICs and phasing networks or whatever they used. Phase lock loops or something, I forget how.
Yeah, you'd have to use some technique like that.
Yeah, you'd have to use it actually as a sideband receivers, wouldn't you?
I'm not sure. Like it was done with double sideband, but it probably wouldn't matter whether you had a carrier there or not.
Yeah, because
probably just worked just the same.
You'd be resolving each sideband as a sideband, like single sideband, wouldn't you?
That's right. And you can just lock your BFO to the carrier.
You probably transmit the carrier in actual practice, so you could phase your BFO, so it was
something like
phase.
That. But
It might be 6 dB down, but you'd probably have it there.
The good thing about that system was the fact that for a given transmitter pair, it gave double sideband a better signal-to-noise ratio than single at the receiving end, which was completely contrary to what everyone had been taught.
That was because it was stereo, wasn't it?
Because double sideband was only being received with what's the word? Not homogeneous, thingo detectors.
Coherent.
Yeah, non-coherent or just envelope detectors anyway.
Yeah.
Although double sideband always has been a pain in the neck to receive properly. I don't think anyone's really ever bothered trying that hard.
It's a really easy thing to transmit, though.
Yeah, it's so easy to transmit, like FM. It's easy to transmit and hard to receive.
Yeah, that's right.
Complicated receiver.
Because I've played with double sideband before. But,
what on?
You mean with suppressed carrier?
Yeah. Well, I've just gone and got me push-pull RF amplifier and connected the anodes together and put so it's balanced, and then put audio into the screens. Mucked around like that.
I'm just ducking out for a sec, John.
So the screens were out of phase. That works. So you end up with like a balanced modulator. Or else you can parallel up the grids. In fact, that's how I did it, as I remember. I paralleled up the grids and modulated the screens out of phase.
Yeah.
So that normally you got nothing in the anode tank, but when one valve was conducting more than the other, obviously it was going to give you the sidebands in the normal way.
Is there any advantage in
double
using
sideband? Well, over AM there is, I suppose, but it's just a simple way of putting duct talk to air without having to get all your horrible rutty sideband boxes and filters and all this.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Oh, well, I'm not very interested in duct talk anyway.
No, nor am I.
Yeah. Much prefer full AM.
Yeah, I prefer full AM or full FM.
Yeah.
FM, of course, it's nice to have it in stereo if you can.
Yeah.
And
I haven't actually got myself an FM stereo thing yet. To build myself one sometime, I suppose.
I often wonder whether it's worth going to all the trouble to build an FM tuner, because you can buy one for 60 dB. Yeah. And if you went to all the trouble to build one, it's only now I work, I'm starting to look this way, you can earn 60 dB in under a week, but if you built the jolly thing and had to design the thing and fetch all the bits and put it together and all this, you'd end up with something which probably at the end would be as good by the time you'd fiddle, but you would have spent a lot more than half a week earning it.
Yeah.
So if it's just a commodity like an FM tuner, I think I'd be inclined to just buy it and be done with it.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was thinking if I build one, I'd get it to cover the 6 meters and 2 meters amateur band as well, and have a switchable bandwidth or something.
I've been thinking to design a cheap converter out of, till 3 FETs or something, which you can just build and stick onto your FM tuner so that it covers channel A to channel 2 or something like, 88 megs would be equal to, say, channel 1 sound, and you tune up from there and get up to, and you make them so they're relatively simple so you can make them work on 6 or 2. And if you put it into Tiny Tots or somewhere, you'd get quite a lot of people listening to 6 meters on their FM tuners then. It should be quite good.
Yeah, but that'd be... what's the deviation of the TV sound thing? I've forgotten.
50 kcs.
Oh, yeah.
But it wouldn't really matter, like you could run, like at the moment, I don't know what I'm running at the moment, but this transmitter here will run about, 30 kcs, which is only going to be about 5 dB down, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's peak or peak to peak? That's deviation each way, is it? From the carrier frequency? Yeah.
But that's only that's peak. This wouldn't be running normal. Like they're probably running 50 kcs peak.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Yeah, I suppose they would.
That's better. Throw some coffee on.
Yeah, I think I'll have to go shortly.
Yeah, I'll be shooting through in a sec.
Yeah.
I've been logging this, by the way. There's about 10 or 12 minutes of log left.
Oh, yeah.
So, I wouldn't want to stay around. Hello, what was that?
What?
Wind noise. Sounded like a very low frequency, a bit of thunder or something.
Yeah, there's probably thunderstorms somewhere.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is again.
Oh, mine won't do it. Yeah, wrecked my transmitter. My poor old output valve's looking into a short circuit almost, those frequencies.
Yes, it probably is.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm intending to go off on Sunday morning to New South Wales, visit the radio telescope at Parkes, and then go up to Siding Springs and visit the new...
How long will you be away on this for?
4 days.
What's this, a group thing or...?
Yeah, going with a class that takes the astronomy subject at Caulfield.
Oh, yeah. Is that a subject there, is it?
Yeah, it's in the applied science.
Did you go to Monash to see those films on...
No.
Yeah, on about a week ago or something.
What was that about?
Oh, films on the latest... one of the probes they'd had.
Oh, yeah.
Not the ones from Mars.
Pictures of Mars in colour and everything or something.
This was on TV, wasn't it?
I don't know. It was on at the Astronomy Club, and I was just looking at it in the
I've heard about these.
the sheet, the day's activities thing, and I got the impression anyone could come and it wouldn't cost anything. But I think you've got to join the club, which means you have to pay $1. But that means you could go for all the rest of the films for the rest of the year, of course, for nothing.
Yeah.
If you join the club, they have films on every few weeks.
Because it'd be quite interesting to see
full of radio
pictures of Mars.
Yeah.
And they've got one down to Jupiter. Any pictures back from Jupiter yet?
Don't know.
Because they sent something out that way, I heard.
I'm completely out of touch with that.
Yeah, they certainly sent something past there, but I don't know whether... what
Just go and grab my coffee off.
It's all very intriguing anyway.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see what happens when that Viking tries to land there shortly.
On Jupiter?
Mars. No, Mars.
Oh, the Viking. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because perhaps the Marsmen might ease it up.
Yeah, well,
They've proved there aren't any Marsmen, I suppose.
Yeah, well, this thing's supposed to prove whether there's any life at all there. This Viking thing.
I wonder whether it will, though.
Yeah, probably not. It's going to dig up samples of stuff, and there are all sorts of tests on it.
There are theories about there having been life there, aren't there?
I don't know. I don't know much about the, these aspects, that are...
No, I don't either.
That people theorise about.
Yeah, you never really know, do you?
That's right.
Because they come up with all these theories, and as quick as they come up with them, they end up disproving them anyway.
That's right. Yeah.
So you get behind with the actual what actually is the right theory, because you've got all these other ones confusing the issue.
Yeah.
It's getting cold in here, even though the radiator's on. I'll turn it on to high.
Yeah.
Here we go, the radiator's floating up to the ceiling now because it's on high.
Yeah. What sort of activities on 160 in New South Wales, do you know?
Don't really know very much about 160 in New South Wales.
I'll just take my transistor up and have a look.
Is it a prestigious as well?
No, it's just a cheap 7 transistor thing that I've tuned up. Just not very sensitive at all.
I've often wondered what's a good portable transistor radio to buy that covers 160 metres.
Oh yeah. Well, there's one that a friend of mine's bought recently. I don't remember what the name was. It's one of those military look type things, and it's got broadcast band, marine band, which includes 160 and 80, and then it's got about 3 FM bands, which includes
6 metres.
No, it doesn't include 6. It's annoying.
There's a friend of mine who's got one that does that. It's a military thing, and it's got 160 and 6 on it.
Oh yeah. Now this one hasn't got 6, but it's got 2 metres.
It's got a military brass band. You go.
Yeah, it's got 2 metres, and it's got the aircraft frequencies, 120 megs around that area, and also the sounds of most of the TV channels you can get. You can't get Channel O though.
No, because if you could get Channel O, you could get 6.
Yeah.
Can you get Channel 2?
Oh, I'm not sure if you can. It'd be
What are
near the
they?
end.
70 megs. They're on a fairly low frequency too, when you think
They
about it.
are.
Like they used to think, I think that Channel 2 was getting low enough to be ridiculous until Channel O came along.
Well, Channel 2 originally was supposed to be the lowest frequency, just like on the broadcast band you've got aunties down.
Yeah, well
the
it
bottom.
was the last frequency.
It's just that...
No, wondering whether they were going to have trouble with sideband cutting in the receiver with that, with the front end biscuits.
That's right. Well, Channel O, isn't it just because the Reggie ended up with the cheap emitters or something?
Yeah, that's what it turned out to be in the end, because as soon as they went over to colour, all of a sudden they had definition. It's incredible. They threw away all their cardboard replica transmitters and put in proper ones,
Which
vaguely came near the correct specs that they were meant to in the first place.
Which you mean the donut?
Yeah.
Well, they threw out some equipment, did they?
They threw out all their rubbishy old replica stuff that was miles below spec.
What happened to their old
Probably wasn't even...
transmitter?
Oh, I don't know. People got it, I suppose, but it didn't look like it was even up to commercial spec. You know, like factory television system spec. For watching people working on production lines. It was so poor. Like they were transmitting 625 lines, but they had about 200 line definition. This type of thing.
But a lot of TV probably only has about that anyway.
No, 9 and 7 are usually pretty good, and 2. Especially 7.
Well,
Nero used to have the blurriest looking picture at one stage.
Who's that? Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you said you know, yeah.
Oh, did you ever notice that?
That was the whole point.
Yeah.
And everyone was blaming the entire thing onto the front ends of their sets. Because of the low frequency.
And it wasn't at all
more QE.
I haven't even got TV receivers.
Well, think what you're missing.
I was thinking if you could get an old Channel
Have you
O
thought?
band, If you get enough, you know how the sound exciters are only about 50 watts or something, and then they take that through coax out to their final amps. If you could get one of those Marconi or whatever they are, low band, channel O or thereabout sound transmitter exciters.
Well, just get the circuit of it and throw one together.
You could use it for 6 metres.
You can get the circuit of it from...
I was going to get the circuit of channel 7s, but I haven't got around to it yet.
Why don't you go for a trip up to the mountain?
They use a crystal multiplied up by 36 and it's directly modulated.
Well, the circuits are up on the mountain. If you want to go up and copy them.
I think it's better than an AFC loop in a lot of ways.
We went up and, that one I was telling you about, all we copied out of that was just the frequency modulated VFO. Because it took about 3/4 of an hour to copy out. And it sort of felt a bit guilty about copying the rest out. But you would know, Ivor.
Yeah.
Or, Ivor would be the bloke.
Yeah, because
He'd let you copy the whole thing out, I'm sure.
I intend to get in touch with Ivor again. And
it's probably all out of date anyway. Oh, their new stuff wouldn't be. Their colour stuff.
They've still got the old sound misses, they've just modified it. They haven't really got any brand new misses or anything like that.
That'd be all valve, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that wouldn't be very hard to put together. Like the VFO thing that I had was only 2 valves. That used to make beautiful quality FM. Because I used to play my records through it and listen through that in preference to direct. Because
TV.
All this beautiful pre-emphasis around 15k made the sound really spectacular.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, I'm going outside for a few minutes to take out an ant that I've got in here.
Oh, is it time to take it out? Is it? All right.
Anyway, I might be signing soon.
Well,
we could all sign technically anyway. I'll just stop the log.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, we say evening. For technically signing, we say evening.
We say evening.
Right, now back to our normal contact.